Bloodstrike has been around for quite some time, and the number of weapons available in the game have drastically increased compared to its early seasons. And whether you're new or veteran to this game, choosing the right weapons is a big factor in winning more matches. So in this video, we'll go over to each and every gun, ranking them based on their overall performance and how effective they are in actual fights. Do take note that these rankings are based on my own experiences and on how I see their effectiveness in actual matches. Let's start with the different assault rifles. There are currently 15 assault rifles available in the game. Let's start with the Spear. The Spear have received nerf adjustments in the recent update, decreasing its overall damage and lesser damage dealt at longer distances. This gun deals 42 headshot damage, 29 upper body damage, and 27 damage on the lower body even on enemies at 50 meters. With these adjustments, the Spear lost its big advantage in long-range fights and it now deals lesser damage because they have increased the damage drop-off over range, which is a bit ironic considering it has an insane range. It's still a good option if you prefer mid-range fights. With the recent buff of the AK-47, I think the Spear can still hold its ground in mid-range fights considering that it has a faster fire rate. So I'll still place this gun on S tier. Next, we have the AR-97. The AR-97 was previously the top choice for assault rifles, but in the last few updates, it received a nerf adjustment on its damage, from a headshot damage of 51 to 47, 35 to 32 damage on the chest area, and 32 to 29 damage on the limb and abdominal areas. These adjustments slightly reduce its overall performance and effectivity in gunfights. The high damage output became the trademark of this gun even though it has a slower fire rate than most ARs. Even with the nerf adjustment, I'll place the AR-97 on A tier. Up next, we have the VSS. A lot of players don't use the VSS because of its low fire rate and low ammo capacity. This gun deals an insanely high damage, even higher than the AR-97. It deals 59 headshot damage, 42 damage on the chest area, and 34 damage on the lower body at 30 meters. I use the Spitzer mag instead of the incendiary mag for better recoil control and to reduce the damage distance drop-off. The VSS is a bit similar to the FAL. Their difference only lies on the range. The VSS is ideal for mid-range fights, but because of its low fire rate, there's a high possibility that you'll be outbursted by your opponents, especially if they are using mid-range ARs like the AUG, MCX, QEZ, and FN2000. That's why it's more ideal if you manage to land your shots first rather than directly exchanging shots with your target. I'm definitely looking forward to how it will be buffed in the future updates, but for now, I'll place the VSS on C tier. Next, we have the FAL. This gun is known for its insane range, even higher than the M700 and Kar98, but it has a very slow fire rate, almost the same with the VSS, and a lot of players complain about how using it makes them a bit dizzy because of their recoil scope animation when you shoot, and this is the main reason why it's not popular. This gun deals 49 headshot damage, 32 upper body damage, and 30 damage on the lower body even on enemies at 50 meters. If ever they decide to slightly buff its overall damage, then the FAL can definitely hold its ground against long-range ARs, like for example the recent buff of the AK-47. But for now, I'll place the FAL on A tier. Up next, we have the newly added AR, the SKS. The SKS has the slowest fire rate out of all the assault rifles, though the fire rate can be adjusted if you use its pass attachment but with a lower damage and lower range. That's why I prefer the sniper rifle stock because of its insane damage. The fire rate is a lot slower but it deals high damage. If you're used to ARs where you just spray bullets, then you might not like the SKS. This gun deals 100 headshot damage, 70 upper chest damage, 65 lower chest damage, and 55 damage on the lower body at 50 meters. It's like a combination of a sniper and assault rifle. It has the same problem with the VSS where there's a high chance that you'll get outbursted by your targets if you face them head on. I'll place the SKS on C tier for now. Next, we have one of the most deadly ARs in mid to close range fights, the FN2000. This gun is perfect for close range fights and one of the guns with a fast time to kill because of its insane fire rate. It has a fire rate of 70, just below the Vector and minigun, which has the fastest fire rate out of all the current guns in the game. An ADS build works best with this gun, and you don't have to worry about running out of bullets quickly, especially with its insane fire rate if you equip the tactical mag. It increases the reload speed, perfect for multiple and continuous gunfights. And also, it has a bass attachment to Swordfish Heavy Compensator, which enhances the recoil control and ADS stability of this gun. So recoil is non-existent, and it's like you're shooting laser beams when using the FN 2000. This gun definitely belongs on S tier. Up next, we have the HK416. This assault rifle is known for its high fire rate and high hipfire accuracy. Most assault rifles are for mid-range or long-range fights, but the HK416 excels more in close-range battles. This gun deals 32 headshot damage, 25 damage on the upper chest, 23 damage on the lower chest, and 20 damage on the lower body at 20 meters. The BAS attachment of this gun, the collapsible stock, makes this gun more effective at hip firing than when you ADS. The collapsible stock increases the hipfire accuracy, movement speed, and sprint to fire speed, so there's no delay when you transition from when you move and when you shoot. I'll also place this gun on S tier above the FN 2000. Both of them are very similar in terms of range, fire rate, and damage. But the HK416 is more flexible because it can be used both ways, without losing accuracy whether you hipfire or ADS. Next, we have the Galil. This gun used to be my favorite AR before it got nerfed. It's still one of the balanced assault rifles with a decent damage output, recoil control, fire rate, and range. And also, not to mention its insane 100 mag capacity. This gun deals 33 headshot damage, 29 damage on the upper body, and 26 damage on the lower body at 30 meters. I don't use this gun that much because it's now a bit lacking for me in terms of damage and range, since I like to play on bigger maps, especially on the Skyline map. This can still work on mid-range fights, but there are definitely better options to go for in our current patch. It's an A tier weapon for me. Next, we have the 4 OG ARs, the M4, CAG-6, SCAR, and AK-47. These guns have been around for the longest time. They once had their prime, but it doesn't mean that they are not useful anymore in the current patch. The M4 is one of the assault rifles that has a decent recoil, and the recoil control has been further improved with the addition of the new BAS attachment. This attachment also gives the M4 a faster ADS speed and ADS movement speed, so you'll be able to scope much faster and also move much better when you ADS. You'll become a much more difficult target to hit when you strafe while shooting. Speaking of stable guns, the CAG-6 is definitely the top AR whose recoil is non-existent, together with the FN 2000. The CAG-6 is a bit better than the M4 in terms of recoil control, faster fire rate, and overall damage output. This is perfect for beginners, especially to those players who can control recoil really well. The next two guns are the complete opposite of these stable guns because of their shaky recoil control, though it's manageable. The SCAR deals 40 headshot damage, 31 damage on the upper chest area, 29 damage on the lower chest, and 28 damage on the lower body at 25 meters. This gun is still decent but only on mid-range fights given that it received a nerf on its range. The fire rate is not that fast compared to the previous guns, but it deals a higher damage so the burst potential is still there. The AK-47 was always included in my top weapon list before. This is one of the balanced assault rifles that can be used both in mid-range and long-range. The AK-47 got buffed in the recent update with a damage increase on the chest and limb areas. It now deals consistent damage on enemies at longer ranges. This gun deals 44 headshot damage, 34 upper body damage, and 30 lower body damage even on enemies at 50 meters. It deals high damage in all areas of the body, but it's outclassed by other ARs with its lower fire rate. Despite the slower fire rate, the AK-47 still has a fast TTK because of its high damage and high burst potential. I'll place the AK-47 on S tier above the Spear. The Spear got nerfed, but I think it can still go head to head with the AK-47 in mid-range fights given that their damage output difference is not that wide, and the Spear has a faster fire rate. But in long-range fights, the AK-47 definitely has the advantage in the current patch. I'll place the SCAR, CAG-6, and M4 on A tier below the Galil. We have 3 ARs left, and these ARs are really good in mid-range fights. These are the AUG, MCX, and QBZ. Let's start with the AUG. They lowered the upper and lower chest damage from 25 to 23 and 24 to 22 damage on the abdominal and limb area. These adjustments doesn't really affect the AUG that much. It's still a very good option for mid-range fights. It's still my go-to AR, especially when I play on Shutter Island. The MCX is a bit similar with the AUG in terms of recoil control, fire rate, and also with their damage output, especially with the recent nerf adjustment on the AUG. There's a tiny difference with regard to their range. The MCX deals consistent damage on targets at 30 meters. On the other hand, the AUG deals consistent damage on enemies at 35 meters. It's only a 5-meter difference, but it does make a difference in gunfights. The QBZ receive a damage buff on the upper chest from 28 to 29 and 26 to 27 damage on the other areas of the body. The headshot damage is still the same. In addition to that, the damage drop-off has been reduced, so I put this to the test. Damage drop-off means the damage increase over range. So if it's reduced, then this means that this gun now deals consistent damage in extended ranges. I was expecting a longer range for a damage drop-off reduction like around 5 meters, but it's only around 1.5 to 2 meters. It's not a major change, but small differences like this still makes a difference. The QBZ has a bass attachment, the armor-piercing mag. That works the same way with the INP9's bass attachment. It deals high damage against enemies with an armor. The QBZ already has a high base damage. It deals 53 headshot damage, 42 upper body damage, and 40 damage on the lower body with the bass attachment on enemies at 25 to 27 meters. With this update, the QBZ is really back in the meta and expect to see more players using this gun, especially on Shutter Island. These guns definitely belong on S tier. I'll place the AUG after the HK416, then QBZ at the top, and MCX after the AUG. Moving on to our next group, we have the pistols. We only have 3 pistols in the game so far, and these are the Glock, Deagle, and Magnum. The Glock is a normal pistol, but it becomes a top tier weapon if you use its akimbo attachment. With the akimbo attachment, this gun deals 45 headshot damage, 32 upper body damage, and 30 damage on the lower body at 5 meters. Since it uses an akimbo attachment, it deals twice the damage. The range is not that impressive, so you need to be very close to deal maximum damage. The Magnum, on the other hand, works like a shotgun when using the Viper mag, where a single bullet breaks into 3 pellets. But in the previous updates, it received a nerf on the damage dealt when using the Viper mag. Now, it only deals 50 headshot damage and 35 damage on the upper and lower body at 10 meters. Before, it deals 56 headshot damage and 40 damage on the other parts of the body. With this adjustment, you'll need 3 or more bullets to knock an enemy down with max level armor. The Magnum is now less toxic than before, but it still has a burst potential even when its time to kill has been slightly reduced. The Deagle is the least popular pistol because there's nothing really extraordinary aside from the fact that it deals high damage. It deals 100 headshot damage, 80 damage on the upper body, and 68 damage on the lower body at 10 meters. You need to be more accurate with this one compared with the other pistols. I'll place the Glock Akimbo and Magnum in S tier. Of course, with the Glock Akimbo above the Magnum because I don't like Magnum users. A lot of guns have received bass attachment, and we don't know, maybe there's an incoming bass attachment for a Deagle that might change our perspective on this pistol. But for now, I'll place this on C tier. We only have one launcher, the RPG-7. This is really fun to use. I somehow got the gold camo for the RPG, but it's not really that good in actual fights. It can't even one-shot an enemy with a level 1 armor. The damage output of the RPG is quite inconsistent. I only got 118 damage so far, which is the highest for me. And for the most part, it lands consistently on 100 or 110. So based on these numbers, you'll need to at least fire 3 to 4 shots to knock an enemy down with max level armor. And that's not good considering the delay between shots. So I'll place this on D tier. Let's move on to the SMGs. Let's start with the OG SMGs, the Vector, URB, INP9, and P90. These were the SMGs that were around on the first or second season of Bloodstrike last 2023. Some of these SMGs had their prime, while some didn't really get that much attention. Let's start with the P90. The P90 was the top SMG choice for several seasons until the addition of new SMG options. It stayed at the top for a while until it received a nerf adjustment on its range. I'm currently using a hybrid build for the P90 to compensate for damage drop-off because of its range. With the carbine barrel, you can deal consistent damage at 10 meters, but there's a slight reduction in the hipfire accuracy, though it's not that big of a deal. Next, we have the INP9. This is one of the most stable SMGs, but its lower damage output has always been a downside for the INP9. But it's a different case if you decide to use its past attachment, the armor-piercing magazine. It deals a higher damage on targets with an armor, but you'll have fewer bullets, which is not that great in dealing with multiple enemies. The Vector has the fastest fire rate out of all the SMGs. The Vector receive a very minor buff, a +1 overall damage that literally doesn't make any significant difference at all. The URB on the other hand is the complete opposite of the Vector, having the slowest fire rate together with the Uzi. But it's one of the SMGs that deals a higher damage output. I don't really recommend using the URB in head-on fights, because even though it deals a higher damage, other SMGs have a faster fire rate with a decent damage, so their burst potential is still higher than the URB. I'll place the P90 and INP9 on A tier after the M4, but doesn't mean that these SMGs are below the M4 since they belong on different categories. The M4 is the lowest A tier rank AR, but the A tier rank for the SMG starts with the P90. For the URB and Vector, I'll place them on B tier. Up next, we have the UMP-4A5. Despite the balancing adjustments that you received in the previous patch notes, this gun still outclasses the other SMGs. The UMP-4A5 deals 36 headshot damage, 28 damage on the chest area, and 25 damage on the lower body at 10 meters. What's more amazing with the UMP is its fast laser attachment. I've been using it a lot recently and I've been winning more of my fights because of this fast attachment. This laser attachment increases movement speed, ADS speed, and ADS movement speed. For me, the UMP still holds the top spot for the SMGs. I'll place this on S tier above the Glock Kimbo and Magnum. Next, we have the MP5 and MP7. The MP5 is actually one of the most balanced SMGs with a decent damage, fire rate, recoil control, and range. It fits whatever playstyle you choose, whether you prefer hip firing or ADS. Though in the previous updates, it received a nerf adjustment with a -1 overall damage and it doesn't really make any sense at all. The MP7 have received buff adjustments in the previous updates, but it's only minimal. The MP7 holds the second fastest fire rate after the Vector, and this is a good alternative for that gun given that the Vector have received nerf adjustments enough for it to be removed in the meta. The MP7 deals 23 headshot damage, 22 upper body damage, and 16 damage on the lower body at 10 meters. This gun has a bass attachment, the heavy trigger, which increases the MP7's overall damage output with a headshot damage of 32 and 23 damage to the upper and lower body. There's also an increase in recoil control but a slower fire rate from 6.7 to 5.7. This bass attachment is great but only if you land most of your shots on the head. The limb damage increase doesn't really affect how I use this gun since I aim mostly on the upper body right around the chest area. So if you ask me, I won't sacrifice the fire rate of this gun, and whether you'll use the bass attachment or not entirely depends on your playstyle and how you aim. I'll place the MP5 on A tier above the P90 and I'll place the MP7 on B tier above the Vector. Next, we have the Bison. The Bison received buff adjustments, slightly increasing its limb damage, damage increase on its pass attachment, enhanced recoil control, increased hipfire accuracy when using the anti-slip grip. The bass attachment of the Bison deals more damage on enemies without an armor. It's the opposite of the INP9's armor-piercing mag. It deals 45 headshot damage, 37 damage on the chest area, and 35 damage on the lower body. Without the bass attachment, it deals 31 headshot damage, 25 damage on the chest area, and 23 damage on the lower body. The base damage of the Bison is actually a bit higher than the MP5, but it has a slightly slower fire rate and range. I'll place the Bison on A tier below the P90. Next, we have the Uzi. Range and damage-wise, the Uzi has an advantage over the other SMGs, but it has the slowest fire rate together with the URP. This gun deals 40 headshot damage, 30 damage on the chest area, 25 abdominal damage, and 22 damage on the lower body at 20 meters. While it has an insane range for an SMG, it easily gets outbursted by other SMGs in close range fights because of its slower fire rate. The Uzi also has an akimbo attachment for close range fights. You don't really need to be accurate with how you handle this gun. The hipfire accuracy is low because of the akimbo attachment. You just need to be really close and keep your crosshair near your target. It has a fast TTK, but I think other close range weapons like the Origin 12 shreds much faster than the Uzi with the akimbo. I'll place the Uzi on B tier below the MP7. Moving on with our last SMG, we have the Thompson. This gun deals 26 headshot damage, 21 damage on the chest area, and 20 damage on the lower body at 10 meters. The Thompson has a bass attachment where it enhances the hipfire accuracy after a few shots. But honestly, I find the damage a bit lacking on the Thompson. It might be good for prolonged fights because of the insane mag capacity, but the damage output is just not enough, especially in direct engagements. I'll place this on B tier below the URP. Let's move on to the LMGs. Let's start with the PKM. This gun received multiple buffs that includes a damage increase on the upper and lower chest, recoil reduction, and a faster reload speed and ADS speed. This gun deals 28 headshot damage, 23 damage on the chest area, and 22 damage on the other parts of the body at 40 meters. There are two different build options for this gun, an ADS build and a hipfire loadout. Personally, I like using the hipfire build more on this gun. With the 200 mag, it's more than enough to deal with a full squad. And since it's an LMG, the hit flinch might actually be one of the reasons why it performs so well in sustained fights. The burn damage of the incendiary mag is not that great, but it definitely makes a difference once the damage stacks up. Though you'll have a slightly slower fire rate from 51 to 48 compared to the normal 200 mag. I'll place the PKM on A tier. Next, we have the RPK. This LMG was one of the guns that were at the top of the meta, but it got nerfed and received a damage reduction in the upper and lower chest, as well as on the abdominal damage. It still deals 37 headshot damage and 20 damage on the lower body at 50 meters. Damage begins to drop on enemies at 60 meters and only deals 33 headshot damage, 24 upper body damage, and 18 damage on the lower body. Aside from the damage reduction, the RPK suppression effect has also been reduced. Suppression is basically how much your screen shakes or your aim gets disrupted when you're being shot. This was the main reason why it became a part of the meta in the previous seasons. Despite the adjustments, the RPK is still decent. It's now balanced, not overpowered. A lot of players don't like the slow ADS speed of this gun, but this can be managed with pre-aiming and proper timing. I also place the RPK on A tier next to the PKM. And for the last LMG, we have the minigun. To be honest, the minigun that I'll ever use in BR fights is the minigun from the special airdrops. This gun does not only deal lower damage compared to the other LMGs, it also needs additional preparation before you can fire your shots. Though you can reduce the preparation time of the wind-up rotation using the right attachments. But even if you can solve that delay, it's not that useful in actual fights. So I'll place this on D tier. Moving on to the next category, we have the shotguns. Let's start with the Origin 12. Out of all the 4 shotguns, this one is really easy to use. You can fire continuously and it's really toxic, especially in close range fights. It's more forgiving if you miss some of your shots than the other shotguns. They nerfed the Dragon's Breath mag before, but even with the damage reduction, it's still very decent. Next, we have the M1887. The gun itself is actually very good because of its high burst potential. Using the bass attachment trigger guard will disable the ADS option for the shotgun and rely only on hipfire. This setup works well for players who prefer hip firing, but personally, I prefer using the M1887 without the bass attachment. I like the ADS with the shotgun to make sure that the pellets stay tight and all hit the target, resulting in faster bursts and higher overall damage. When you rely purely on hipfire, you need to be extremely close to deal high damage, unlike when you have the option to ADS. Another shotgun that deals an insane amount of damage is the S868. There are multiple ways on how to set this up depending on the different attachments. The shotgun has a bass attachment, the double trigger. With this attachment, the S868 fires a double shot, and since it only has 2 bullets, it will only fire once then reloads again. The good thing about this double trigger attachment is the high damage output. It can burst enemies even with max armor as long as it's within 5 meters. It's also indicated in the stats that it deals lesser damage when using the double trigger. It only deals 35 damage with the razor rounds, while the normal one deals 45 damage. But here's the deal. I noticed that there is a difference in the amount of damage indicators shown between these two attachments. Here with the double trigger attachment, it deals 35 damage and the total number of damage indicator is 7. Without the double trigger attachment, it deals 45 damage and the total number of the damage indicator is only 4. So if we do a simple math, 7 times 35 is equal to 245, while 4 times 45 is equal to 180. So the S868 deals more damage with the razor rounds and double trigger attachment. There's also another option with the shotgun slug. It will only fire a single bullet since it can be combined with the bass attachment. It deals 140 damage per bullet if it hits on the chest area and 220 damage on the head. It also has more range, so it deals consistent damage even on enemies at 10 meters. Next, we have the MP155. Among these 4 shotguns, the MP155 has the least burst potential capability. It has more bullets than the M1887 and S868, but you'll need more shots before you can knock an enemy down. It's inferior to the M1887 in terms of its damage output, but it's a lot easier to slide and move while shooting with the MP155. I'll place the Origin 12 and M1887 on S tier, while the S868 on A tier and MP155 on B tier. Up next, we have the sniper rifles. Let's start with the M82 and Kala. These two sniper rifles perform really well in longer ranges because of their insane range. The M82 received a buff in the previous updates, improving the gun's race time, increased ADS speed, and overall damage, though the damage increase only works when using the heavy barrel. The M82 has a faster ADS speed and faster fire rate than the Kala, so it's easy for follow-up shots. And it also has a longer duration on its burn damage when using the incendiary mag. However, the Kala has a much longer range, more than twice the range of the M82. The damage output of these sniper rifles are the same, but the Kala deals consistent damage in longer ranges. I'm not great at sniping, so I'm leaning more towards the M82, because whenever I miss, it's a bit easier for follow-up shots, and it also has a faster ADS speed and longer burn duration. Next, we have the M700 and Kar98K. Both of these snipers excel more in close to mid-range fights. These sniper rifles have lesser damage and shorter range compared to the Kala and M82. These snipers are ideal for quick scoping. The Kar98K deals more damage than the M700, especially in the upper body since it deals 150 damage, while the M700 only deals 125 damage, but the M700 has a longer range. I actually prefer the M700 than the Kar98K for several reasons. It has something to do with the range. The Kar98 has a shorter range, so the damage is not consistent against enemies at mid to long range. It's more effective at close to mid-range fights. Also, the ADS speed is insanely fast with the Kar98, which affects my timing and how I aim at my target. I prefer the slower ADS speed of the M700. I'll place the M82 and Kala on S tier, M700 on A tier, and Kar98K on B tier. Up next, we have the bow. It deals almost the same damage with the M700, but of course only when you hold the arrow before shooting. The damage output depends on how long you hold the arrow while shooting, and it's difficult to execute, especially in a fast-paced game like Bloodstrike. If you're playing on PC, then maybe you'll have fun with the bow, but it's quite hard on mobile. There's also an option to use explosive arrows. The bow is not entirely bad, it just depends on the skill of the user. So I'll place this on C tier for now. Lastly, we have the SVD. This is literally the worst sniper rifle in the game right now, and I don't even want to remember the struggles I had to endure just to get the gold camo. The SKS is a lot better in my opinion. Their damage output is almost the same, but the SKS has a faster fire rate and faster ADS speed. This is one of those guns that will never become a part of the meta. I'll place this on D tier. What are your thoughts on these rankings? Do you agree with this list? Comment down your thoughts and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.